No, it's not.
Got about 30 seconds. I got to talk to the residents. Say hi. Right there, Mr. Andy there.
Maryland Councilwoman.
All right there.
Hey.
Council President.
She's working the room tonight.
All right, Miss Norma.
Notice of this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Ms. Trueblood.
Present.
Ms. Denny. Present. Ms. Skull.
Present.
Ms. Jackson.
Present.
Mr. Allen.
Present. This meeting is now called to order. Closed session resolution number 88-2015. Contract negotiations, Browns Mills Shopping Center. In addition, we will be discussing contract negotiations for Block 553, Lot 37, and Block 553, Lot 51. Is there a motion?
Oh, wait. Can I just intervene? Does Andy have something else on there?
Not to my knowledge.
Well, what we do, Dennis said at the last meeting that they were going to do that presentation or do whatever you're going to do with the Browns Mill Shopping Center because it wasn't ready before.
Contract negotiations.
It's on there.
Huh?
That's what he said.
It's on the agenda.
I had to go to work today. Oh, this is the new one. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, Council President.
Is there anything else?
I'll be nice, thank you.
Do we have a motion?
Oh,
I make a motion that we go into closed session to discuss the negotiations brought forth by our council president.
Maybe read through. Is there a second?
Second the motion to go into closed session. Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Denny?
well, I'd like to just say the closed session resolution number 88-20-15. Yes.
Ms. Skull?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Council will now go into closed session, and we will return at approximately 7 o'clock. There is no action pursuant to
Sorry, Diane.
Council's closed session.
Sorry.
Public comments on agenda items only. Mr. Tompkins? And I will not tell you to sign in.
You would ask me, but I still decline. Thanks, Jason. Jack Tompkins, Pemberton Heights, Pemberton. Hope everyone's enjoyed this nice spring day today. I think hopefully Mother Nature's not paying an April Fool's joke on us. I only have a couple questions, and this is going to lead into part of my comments at the end, too, so forgive me if I get a little winded. 90-2015. And we're looking for emergency temporary appropriations. Well, first off, how can it be a temporary appropriation if you're going to be spending it? You're not going to get it back, so it's permanent. But I'm kind of wondering what the appropriations are for and what you're paying for, other than just normal, keep the electricity running, water going, policemen on the streets, that kind of thing.
That's what it is, I believe, right, Dennis? Yeah.
I'd like you folks to really look at this. I'd highly encourage you to not approve it tonight. I've said this in the past. One of the biggest teeth you folks have sitting up here in the council is your ability to pass the budget or deny the budget. I think there's a lot of things going on in the township right now where I would not want to give up the control of the budget right now. And if you approve this, you are giving up a lot of your control. I would highly encourage you to pass authorizations for funding for things like the police department, keep the lights on, and stuff like that. But you might want to consider starting to furlough some of the employees and some of the other things to start saving us some cash, because I think we're going to need it. And that's about all I have for right now. I'll save the rest of it for public comment towards the end. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Let's see if we can clear this up. Isn't this basically just because we don't have an approved budget at this point and we need to approve the funding for everyday operations, salaries, electric bills? That's what it's on the list.
That is absolutely correct. The temporary budget that was approved in the first few days of January is by statute, it is a maximum of 26.25%, and it's intended to handle the first quarter of a year while council is going through the budget process under state law. And January, February, and March, which just ended yesterday, is a quarter of the year. So if we are going to make any payments to our employees and health care and keeping the lights on, etc., we need to adopt the second phase of a temporary budget, which is exactly what it is called. It's a very cumbersome term, emergency temporary appropriations, but that is the term that our state legislature has given in the statute to extending the temporary budget while we wait for the Division of Local Government Services of the Department of Community Affairs to authorize the council to adopt the budget. The council has no authority at this point to adopt the budget. You've introduced the budget. I have personally, since I live in Trenton, I've personally delivered that budget to DCA, and they review it along with the budgets of every single municipality in the state of New Jersey, and then they communicate with our CFO in writing, and they say, you may adopt the budget as introduced, or you may not adopt the budget as introduced, and these are the changes that we want you to bring back to the council. So I am hopeful that DCA gets through our budget and we get something between now and April 15th, so we can move forward on the process of adopting the final budget. But if not, as of right now, the council would still subject to DCA approval, but the last date on which it is anticipated that the budget would be passed would be May 6th. Which is the following meeting. And I can't, we, the council, and we do not have the authority to just furlough employees, because there is a lawful due process mechanism in place through the Civil Service Commission, et cetera, in any event, that would take, even if we were, and we're not doing a reduction in force, it would take, 4 to 6 or 7 months to actually put something like that together and get approvals anyway.
Thank you. Dennis, our CFO provides us with these dollar amounts, correct?
Our CFO wrote those ordinances and provided the numbers in those ordinances in order for us to continue to function, to have the government continue to function on a temporary basis as provided by state law, while DCA is reviewing the budget that the council introduced.
Thank you. Okay. Is there anyone else? Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council, is there a motion to approve the consent
Wait a
agenda?
minute.
I'd like to pull a couple. I'd like to pull 90-2015. And I'd like to pull 98-2015.
98?
Yes.
98. Thanks, I was going to pull that one too, Di. I need to, I got the wrong page here. On page 16 of the bill list by budget account, need to pull 15-00752.
Oh, okay. And on the bill list as well, page 7, PO 5-01-25-265-000-201 in the amount of $4,977.03. Page 7.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are there any others? Hearing none, council, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
Move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Amy, please pull the council.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Stinney, you requested to pull 90-2015.
Yes, I did. Thank you very much, and thank you for the explanation, Dennis, to the public on why these funds are need to be available. But the problem I have is I never like to see other expenses because it reminds me of miscellaneouses. So, as a matter of fact, I can take it back to 310 Buildings and Grounds. I recall Ms. Skull saying one time, where did the cameras come that was placed somewhere around Buildings and Grounds? So, if we get, that's just an example. It says other expenses, $60,000, and maybe perhaps they put some more, hypothetically speaking, cameras in other areas of that, and then it comes back and say, okay, well, wait a minute, you temporarily supported that budget there. So I just have a problem with what is other. Andy, this is not against you. I just want you to know that.
Well,
But
the term other expenses is listed on every line item.
I understand that, except for some.
I didn't construe it as a legal expense.
No, I just wanted to say this was not against you, but see, it says like 155 legal services, other expenses $50,000. You know, how long does that take us through with legal expenses, that sort of thing. I just kind of thought maybe an attachment or something could have went with some kind of explanation or whatever. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, this came from the CFO, so I couldn't help you. I mean, in terms of budgeting, I don't do budgeting. Dennis could probably
Thanks.
help. But
Dennis, please.
The line items as named and as described in the resolutions have to mirror what is in the budget as required by local government services. So, for instance, in police, you'll see salaries and wages, and you'll see other expenses. In the actual budget that you adopt every year, those are the line items. So, in the resolution, it says I need X number of dollars from line items. Basically, it's I need a prorated amount of the other expense line item in order to carry us through April and May until we finally adopt the budget. The council never adopts any budget that says specifically what expenses may or may not be authorized within the other expense item. That's not what you ever vote on. When you vote on the budget for police, you vote on salary and wage and other expenses. When you vote on the line item for the clerk's office, you vote salary and wage, other expenses. That's the way the budget documents are structured by the Division of Local Government Services.
So whatever is other expenses are listed in our budget as the other in detail.
When we provide
So
the detail, exactly.
You cannot be purchasing something that wasn't in the budget on a line item.
Well, it's if it's if we wanted to purchase something, let's just say in police, that we wanted to purchase something that was over $2,000, that's not even in the detail. That between the time that we put the detail together and we wanted to do something over $2,000, you would see it as a contract over $2,000 for you to approve or disapprove anyway.
Okay.
But other expenses, like for the police, would be maybe Social Security, pension, whatever else comes
Actually,
out.
no. Other expenses is, paying for software and hardware,
Right.
paying for their training,
Right, which are line items.
which are sub-line items for our purposes. They're not line items in the budget. They're line items for accounting purposes, and we provide you with detail just to let you know this is the plan of, we plan to buy all of these, we plan to spend these amounts within these sub-line items, but all of it gets grouped together for the actual budget you vote on as an other expense. Basically, other expense means authorized expenses other than salaries.
Got it. I got it, because it states right here, if you're going to be, you still use the, police. This is salary and wages, which is what you're talking about, $1 million. Other expenses, $150,000. I got that. I just, and I hear what you're saying, 2,000 and over. I just didn't see anything that was under 2,000 that would catch my attention, that we would have to vote on, and I just didn't want to say, okay, in the police department, here's $150,000, and then we put in another car, that sort of thing. So, okay.
We can't, neither the administration or the police department can buy another car unless we get the council to authorize it.
No,
So,
I'm
I'm saying that
hypothetically
hypothetical is just not correct, and that's the problem.
Well, let's go to the lawyer then. Let's use that.
Yes, Diane.
Okay. It says $50,000 for it. Let's get off the police and go to the lawyer.
I gotta talk about, that's a joke.
I know that you would.
Yes.
So the $50,000, that's for the lawyer.
Yeah.
So talk about that.
Well, that would cover, well, Dennis.
If I may, that is for money that we need to cover all of our legal expenses, not just Mr. Bear's expenses. It could be, any other case that our labor attorney is handling.
Okay.
And in terms of our lawyers, we have no lawyers that are employed by the township. So therefore, the salary and wage, there is no salary and wage line item for any lawyer, because we pay lawyers either on a retainer for a set amount of work or hourly. It all comes under other expenses because it's not a salary or wage.
Okay, great. I see there's quite a few people out there making some notes, and I'm sure that the residents appreciate your explanation. So that's why I brought that up myself. All right. Thank you, Council President.
Is there a motion?
Then I would like to make a motion to approve on the consent agenda resolution 90-2015, which authorizes emergency temporary appropriations in the 2015 municipal budget.
Second.
Amy?
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Stahl?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ms. Stinney, you also requested to pull 98-2015, authorizing the transfer of a police canine known as Bandit to Justin Craig.
Justin, turn around. I see you back there. You're going to take my dog. My question is, I know Bandit's going to be leaving, one of our original dogs. My question is, we have a replacement in the budget, correct?
There was money put into the budget for a replacement dog. A decision has not been made as to whether there will be a replacement dog. That's something that the mayor has not quite decided yet.
Oh. So he would have to authorize that. Other than that, Bandit won't be replaced. And I understand Bandit's not feeling well. I understand that. And I'm just so grateful that Justin's going to take Bandit under his care. I mean, I'm just grateful. I remember the last situation. What I won't say, I believe it was Mr. Ettinger. Can we say his name?
Yeah, I think the dog's fine. There's nothing wrong with the dog. The dog isn't sick or anything. It's just...
Oh, I thought he wasn't feeling well.
He's ready to go. He's old. He needs
Well-
some fun in his life.
Retirement. Dennis, question, what would be the reason that we wouldn't replace a dog, though?
I will be happy to discuss that with the mayor, and we'll provide, if the council is interested in an answer to that question and what we would do. As soon as the mayor makes a determination, I'll provide a written response to council as to where he intends to go on another dog.
Well, I'm very interested in that, Dennis, and we've had this conversation several times, and I'm sure the public would like to know as well. We started out 207, and that was on one of our platforms, is to bring the K9 dogs back into existence, which had been out for several years, and they have proven to be an asset to this township that I know of. Saving people's lives, drugs, senior citizen. I recall a senior citizen, he's passed away now, was down at Aspen Hills, got lost down on Lakehurst Road, and thank God for the dog, and they found him. So I'm just hoping that the mayor sees fit that he replaces this dog back in the budget and furnishes the police department with another canine. Thank you.
I will ditto that comment. The canines have been extremely important. It was one of the best decisions and some of the best spent money that we have spent. It's very discouraging to hear that this is even a consideration with the situation the way it's been, with continual discord between the police and administration. To me, this is just another way to show who has the authority. And I would certainly hope that the best interests of the residents is taken into consideration by administration and the canine is replaced. One of the reasons, too, I had wanted to pull this, and I'm thankful Diane did, on the first page, down after recitals, we have responsibilities of Ettinger. And I think it should say Craig instead of Ettinger. I know it's a typo that needs to be fixed, but I would like to see that fixed before we continue. And with that, I also want to state that I really have appreciated how hard Justin has worked, the time and effort that goes into being a canine handler, and the appreciation of myself, and I know many of the residents in the township, for the great job that Bandit has done. And we should all be grateful that he was here and of service to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. I really thank you so.
I was looking at the rest.
Thank you, Craig and Bandit.
Oh, and Bandit, okay.
Do we, is there a motion?
On that, I would like to approve the resolution number 98-2015, which is the resolution authorizing the transfer of police K9 Bandit to Justin Gregg.
Second.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Ordinances for introduction. Ordinance number 7-2015, an ordinance of the Township of Pemberton amending Chapter 41 of the Code of the Township of Pemberton entitled Police Department, Section 41-15, Chaplain. Is there a motion to introduce?
I'll motion to introduce ordinance 7, 2015.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Amy, please poll the council.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Ms. Skull?
No.
Ms. Stinney?
No.
Mr. Allen?
Yes.
And I would like to say that rumors on the street from today are the reason that I am opposed to this introduction. Since it'll be up for approval in a couple of weeks, let's hope that what I've heard today is nothing more than a rumor, and that we don't have any more issues between our police department and administration. Thank you.
And at my last meeting, I just highlighted how important it was to bring in other clergy, and I think it's a great idea in time of need. Unfortunately, I received a call today, and I just hope that, it's just not true to stir up some other stuff again. And so I'll wait for my support, whether I go at the next council meeting. But at this particular time, I'm not going for it.
Is administration aware of any rumors about?
I don't get rumors.
I don't know what the rumors are because I don't know of any rumors either, and I apologize to the public for not being here at the last meeting. I was in severe pain with the pinched nerve, so my apologies. But from what I read in the minutes, it seemed like the residents were for this chaplaincy program. I've heard many times from the public and our council how we are a diverse community, and I don't see why we should not have diversity in our chaplaincy as well. But again, I have not heard the rumors, and if it is a rumor, we should, be voting on things based on facts, not rumors.
And that is so true, Mrs. Councilwoman Jackson. I learned a long time ago, you let rumors be rumors. I remember when they were saying it's rumored that they're going to close down Fort Dix. Just a rumor. And I don't address rumors, but I do address facts. And if the facts should happen to come before council or council's the next meeting, then certainly I'm going to address the fact. I do not and will not address rumors, but I won't jump in and say yes or no until the facts come out.
And
Thank you so much.
I can say that my voting no has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not I believe we should have a diverse group of people as chaplains. I voted, I believe, and we heard the public, but I'm also, as I have continued to state, so sensitive to the issues between administration and our police department that at this time I don't know if I'm going to vote for anything ordinance-wise until the nonsense stops.
Thank you, Ms. Skull. Ms. Stinney, you requested to pull a bill.
Yes, page 7, fire contract service. Help me out here. Pemberton First Aid Rescue Squad supplies. Where is that?
Diane, that's the payment related to the settlement agreement and purchase you approved of the Pemberton First Aid building. As part of that contract, the township agreed to pay the consideration in the agreement was the township would pay Pemberton's First Aid's expenses up to $6,000.
Oh,
So this is all their,
Okay.
this is all their expenses. It's $4,977.03. And then we had a closing a week and a half ago, but the closing is contingent upon the township, of course, paying the money as was promised in the agreement, and that's what administration couldn't pay the expenses till you approved them on the bill list.
okay, all right. Thank you so very much for that explanation.
Andy, you said all of the expenses, so it's not going to go higher than, obviously it can't go higher than
Six.
6,000, but it won't go higher than the 4,900.
Look down this way, at the closing, I believe we got all their bills, right?
We got all their bills. There's one possibility, and I believe that's a JCP&L bill, but
Okay.
it will not be, the total will not be over $6,000. And if we end up having to pay that, you'll see it on the next bill list.
Okay, I appreciate that, and thank you for the explanation. Thanks, Andy. I really
welcome,
appreciate that. Okay, and
Did you have something else?
no, I think Ms. Gall did, but I don't...
I'll get to that. Is there a
Okay.
motion to approve the vendor number 5-01-25-265-000-201?
I make that motion that we approve on the bill list, 5-01-25-265-000-201.
Second that motion to approve the bill list 501-25265-000-201.
Amy?
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Ms. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Mrs. Skull, you pulled a bill off of page 16.
I need to abstain on that bill.
Okay, I didn't get the entire vendor number. 750.
You want the big number?
Sure.
5-05-55-500 000-431 15-00752 in the amount of $99.
Oh, it's this one. It's for your husband.
Yes.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
got you.
I assume that's what.
Okay.
I didn't see it on the list.
Can I just read this number?
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to approve 15-00752?
Motion to approve the bill.
Second.
Amy?
Mrs. Stinney?
Yes.
Mrs. Jackson?
Yes.
Mrs. Skull?
Yes.
No.
Oh, abstain. Abstain. I was just thinking about the dog eating his boot, and that's what, he had to go get some new boots, but abstain on that one, thank you.
Mrs. Trueblood?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Solicitor's report.
I have nothing tonight, Council.
Business administrator.
I have nothing, thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. General public comments.
I have a question for, or do we know when we can expect the reports back from the police and for administration on the questions that were...
I provided an answer to one of the questions, and before the next meeting, you should at least, I'm going to try to get through at least two of the questions. So I apologize that it's piecemeal, but I need to include that within the context of all the other things that I need to do, so.
And it's one of the things that I believe council was requesting was that it come together as a report. I think piecemeal might confuse some of us, or all of us. When you get the answers, if we can just get that in one lump report.
So the council wants me to, if I complete one or two of the questions this week or next week, you want me to wait until I have all of the answers?
I will yield to the rest of council, but I do believe that's what we were requesting initially, is one report. So is council okay with the way it will be sent in piecemeal?
I personally don't mind you sending it to me in piecemeal, but
Okay.
it'll all read the same.
Sounds like piecemeal is fine.
And the reason that I did that was because
You said it was going to
you know, is going to take some time, so I figured as I have one question answered, then I would provide it. But I will make an effort to complete it as soon as possible.
Dennis, I have a couple questions, if you don't mind, please. I phoned Amy today because I received a telephone call from a resident who came up to the yard, and the yard was...
I apologize, I never addressed that with administration today. That was my error.
Oh.
You saying that just reminded me. There's a note on my desk.
Oh, okay. Well, the sign outside has not changed to the new hours of the yard, and I gave Amy a call today and asked her if she would be so kind to address that. Thank you very much.
That'll be taken care of.
Okay,
Thank you.
great.
Thank you for letting me know.
Okay. And the other thing is that a resident came, business resident came up to get something notarized and was told we don't have a notary here in the municipal building.
Well, we do have a couple people that are notaries, but we don't provide that service to the public. That's more something that someone would need to go to the bank or the insurance agency or to an attorney. We don't just provide notary service to the public. It's not part of what... I know it's been done in the past, but that's not being done right now.
Wow.
Well, there's another loss of service then. So as we're saying, we're not losing services to the community. Apparently we are. Because I know in the past I've always said to somebody, go down to the municipal
I've said
building.
it 100 times. To go to the municipal building.
Is that a service that we can add?
Is it okay if I comment on it?
Yes.
I am one of the notaries in the building, and the reason the services have not been discontinued for any township-related business, but it has been discontinued for personal items. We were having people come up with wills, deeds, and other items, and we've had a couple people come up and claim we did something wrong on items that they drew up, which could legally come back to the township, and that's why that service was discontinued. If somebody comes up with something from the township, something for the zoning department, the tax collector's office, and we will accept the items from the school district that need to be notarized, but personal items that are, we've had people come in with mortgages where we spend a half an hour notarizing mortgages and providing witnesses, but we did have somebody come up with a will that they drew up, and then later on they came in and literally yelled at us
Because it was wrong.
because the form that they drew up was wrong, but we notarized it. So that is why that service was discontinued.
Okay.
It's not,
So it's more of a
there wasn't just because
safety.
we didn't want to do it anymore. There was legal reasons for it.
Okay. That I can accept.
Thank
Well,
you.
yeah, I can understand that as well. But Andy, would you do me a favor? Would you look into the legalities of a benefit of a notary and not having a notary available? And I'm not sure if they always have one right on hand at the library down here. I guess I'll have to check. I'm not sure. But
There was one at the library. They started sending everybody up here. Everybody.
Right.
And I do know if you go to your bank, a bank that you have an account with, they will do it for you there.
Mm-hmm.
I've gotten quite a few things notarized at my bank.
Okay. Could you check that out for me? Okay.
If
No,
you need-
no cost would it be? No cost.
Under the retainer.
Okay.
If you need something notarized, Diane, I can help you.
No, not I.
I know, I'm only joking.
Oh, okay.
That was a joke.
I'll go down to Amy's thing.
Because lawyers are notaries, too.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Jason, that's all my questions I have for Dennis.
General public comments. We'll go with Mr. Glass in the back first, or Reverend Glass.
Once again, I apologize for part of this responsibilities at the church. And dear members of council, I want to thank you once again for the opportunity to address you publicly. Please understand I do so with the utmost respect, knowing that the service you perform to this community is great. The struggles you face are real and significant. At the last meeting, I stood before you and shared my support of the statute change that would permit the appointment of additional police chaplains. My only concern was that those appointments should be made with the consideration of the situation police chaplains can, may, and will be exposed to, the need for systematic training, and the police chaplaincy, above all others, puts one in the presence of the worst of humankind. I've served in this position for approximately 5 years. During this time, I've had the privilege to give counsel to officers, perform wedding ceremonies, officiated funerals, assist in crisis situations, been available at all hours of the day as needed. I have opened my facilities for the training of officers, both human and canine. My home has become a rest stop for a meal when there are no other places open because of a holiday. In return, this department has afforded me the opportunity to receive training in my craft so as to be better equipped as a police chaplain, and for this I am thankful. Apart from this, I receive no salary, stipend.
Sorry.
Apart from this, I receive no salary, stipend, nor do I stand before you asking for one. I have sought to perform my duty with integrity, honesty, transparency, and openness. I have strived to earn both the respect and trust of those men and women in uniform, a task that is hard to obtain and easy to lose. I was informed that there is no longer a police chaplain for this department. To say I was shocked would be a serious minimization of the reaction. It would seem that this position has now become part of the tension within this building. Now a position which by nature exists to assist the community as a whole, and officers of this community has now become, in my opinion, a pawn to be played. I have not been informed as to why this has happened. Perhaps someone can answer that question for me. I've served as a police chaplain at the pleasure of the mayor, yet my focus has been the people of this community, and specifically those who keep them safe. I do not know what council can do, but I ask that you do not allow those who will serve in this position in the future to be cast away so easily and for no reason. Thank you for your time.
Dennis, I have a question. Reverend Glass has said there is no longer a police chaplain, which is baffling, but also, if there's no longer a chaplain, what would be the purpose of us voting for the ordinance number 7?
That's a question that really can't be answered the way you asked it. The way you answered it. There is an existing ordinance that allows the mayor to appoint a chaplain. And the mayor is the person who appoints a chaplain. The reason for the ordinance that we've described is for the opportunity of the mayor to appoint multiple chaplains to serve the officers in the police department. I would not agree with Mr. Glass's characterization of what he thinks happened, but the point being is that a chaplain's term is an annual term and subject to renewal. And we will provide, I'll discuss this with the mayor, we'll provide the council with a full report. All that was said to the chief today when he asked about a training session, some conference for the chaplain, is that we can't spend any money when the chaplain's term previously ended and has not yet been reappointed. I think it is the mayor's intention to subsequent to the adoption of the ordinance amendment, to appoint multiple chaplains and to work with the chief to create a broader, fuller chaplaincy program in the police department. I fully expect, and I don't see why Reverend Glass would not be a part of it, but that's all I can tell you right now, and I'll be happy to share the concerns you expressed earlier with the mayor and advise him that the council is interested in a report on this issue, and we'll do that right away.
So if something happens right now in the police department and they need some help, Reverend Glass is not the person that they would go to at this time?
Well, I'm sure it's fine for them to go to Reverend Glass for assistance, given his experience with them. There's nothing wrong with that. The clear question was there a chaplain appointed for 2015? And the answer, a chaplain has not been appointed for 2015. That was the answer to the question, essentially, that was posed. That doesn't mean that Reverend Glass cannot make use of his extensive experience with our police officers. But that's essentially an issue that I'm not going to talk about any more about this. That's all I could really tell you, and I'll be happy to share your concerns with the mayor, and the mayor will provide a report as to what the general plan is.
Jason, can I ask you a question, please, real quick? Isn't the reappointment, are they also on the same time frame, like, we do reappointments on the January, that, from January to January, that sort of thing? I'm not sure. Is it, do you know?
I mean, you would think if it's an annual appointment, but...
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Reverend Glass,
can we ask?
What there are two things.
Okay.
I was informed previously that of an email that it said that there was no need to reappoint me each year as long as I was not unappointed. And more specifically to your question, if there were an issue to come up, I would respectfully say that no one should they come out to an incident, a police incident, and not be a sworn chaplain in the department, should they be injured or killed, they would not be subject to the provisions under the Father Judd Act, and that they would be putting the future financial safety of their family at risk. In doing that, should they be killed, there is no provision for them. Whereas when they are sworn and when they are appointed and they go out to any kind of thing here, and they're injured or they are killed, in that their family is protected as any other officer would be protected who would suffer injury or death in a line of duty. And so that provision would not be in effect. And it would be my personal opinion to say you need to find a chaplain from another department to be able to come out, because no one serves in that capacity. And that would be a great fear.
So you were not you mind, Jason, if I ask a question? Okay.
Go ahead.
So you were not reappointed in January? You don't go from January to January?
Normally,
how does
initially,
this work?
I had been appointed initially, and I was appointed a second time. And then when the appointment, I am told, I don't have the record. You would have to ask for others for that record. That there was an email that was responded back that said I do not need to go through a yearly appointment as long as there is no change. And so when I was informed of this, that was against everything I had been told up to that point and was aware of up to that point. So, but I'm not the appropriate person to be able to ask. I do not have that email. That email is not mine.
So Andy, because this, we passed this ordinance tonight, Reverend Glass could be, I'm sorry?
Well, it's introduced.
Well, I'm sorry, introduced tonight. We would have to pass it at the next meeting?
Well, you have an ordinance now that allows for the provision of the appointment of one chaplain.
So they could,
So somebody could be
the
appointed.
administration could appoint
Could
Reverend
appoint,
Glass?
well, the administration could appoint. Yes, there is provision. I brought the provision here when I first came on and started, and worked to found the program. The provision states for the appointment of a police chaplain, which you have brought to the table. And again, I'm sorry I wasn't here during that time. Was to add an S to chaplain to make chaplains, and to remove the A to allow for multiple chaplains. As I was here before, I spoke to that issue. That's great. I would be in support of that. And I also said, here are my concerns with that. Because it is different to be a police chaplain than to be a chaplain in a hospital, or to be a hospice chaplain, or things along that line. They are very specific areas in which you are involved in. Police chaplaincy is different, from that, even down to the point of making a death notification, and the procedures that are followed in those. So yes, the current provision allowed for it, for the appointment of one, or the continued appointment of one. This provision allows for the appointment of multiples that you would be discussing and possibly voting on within 2 weeks.
Well, under the current provision, please bear with me, under the current position, Pastor Glass could still be reappointed at this time until the introduction that we made tonight goes forward. Am I correct?
Right.
Correct.
He
So
did
he
not
will still be appointed.
Well, again, I serve at the I serve at the
We
pleasure of
need
the
to
mayor.
have
The
somebody.
mayor appoints and chooses not to appoint.
Okay.
That is not,
understand.
that is not council's or anything. As I said, it was my opinion as a result of an email that I was instructed had been received, that my appointment continued on, that there was no need to reappoint every year.
Now, you said you received the email,
No,
or
no, no.
somebody else
No,
received the email?
Someone else. I am not the person who
does not
received
have
that email.
Well, the bottom line is, you've been not appointed as of right now, which leaves us with no chaplain,
That is correct,
which
woman.
makes you wonder why would something like that happen if there was an intent to appoint Reverend Glass again with the long list of chaplains. So that's why, one of the reasons why I just
My
have,
question would be-
I apologize to you as a council person without the power to do
you.
anything
Thank you, ma'am.
about some of the things.
I apologize.
Thank you.
But with all that being said, Dennis, you will be able to ask the mayor, about this, and...
Yeah, I'll be very happy to convey all of your sentiments to the mayor, that a chaplain be appointed now, and clearly the council would like the mayor to do that without waiting for the ordinance. I understand that. I'll be very happy to provide it to the mayor, and as Mr. Allen indicated, asking for a report, we'll prepare a written report for council.
Well, we certainly would like to see Reverend Glass respected for the time and effort that he's put forward, and that he be the one reappointed at this point. That's my feeling.
So Andy, if we didn't, I'm sorry, Jason, were you talking? So Andy, in other words, we're in violation if he's, say you're not the,
No, you are not in violation. You-
of our own ordinance, our own ordinance.
No, please let me. You do not have to have a chaplain. You can choose, the township, or the mayor can choose at his discretion to not have a chaplain. All that I am saying is that were someone unappointed be asked to come out to a critical incident situation, and God forbid lose their life while trying to assist in that with the officers or those that were injured, there is no statute provision, the Father Judd provision, which was established as a result of the loss of a priest who was giving last rites in 9/11, lost his life. There was provision then made for those serving as chaplains to be afforded the same opportunity or the same benefit should they lose their life serving in that capacity. It didn't apply to anything else, but it applied to that. And so it would put them at risk to do that, because they would not be covered under the Father Judd's provisions.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you all very much for your time. I appreciate that.
Mr. Glass.
Ms. Waters?
Thank you, Ms. Warren. Where's that? Bless you.
God bless.
My name is Norma Waters of Pemberton Heights. I want to thank the council and the mayor, though he isn't here with us tonight, for all of your work and your worry in these trying times. My impression of township history is that this beloved town has included military housing that was decommissioned and some developments that did not flourish as hoped, thus creating a vulnerable economic base on which rests a large and expensive infrastructure. This has made Pemberton Township easy prey since 2008 for Wall Street bankers to continue to drive out residents and close businesses. You are not to blame for that. But as our frail town's current caregivers, this council and this mayor must make critical decisions about her future. You might choose to continue standing by, hoping for a miracle, but letting nature take its course, while sadly applying bandages as she bleeds population. Or you could further mortgage the township for expensive infusions which may or may not revive her. No matter what you decide, you are likely to be criticized, for criticism thrives in democracy. But please remember that if your efforts are too little or too late, we may lose our hometown to courts and vulture lenders who will take her over, further bleeding her for the benefit of outside interests. In this trying time, you deserve respect and caring for carrying the heavy burden of painful decisions. I hope you will join in asking the citizens to remember you and our township with positive thoughts and prayers through a symbolic ribbons project. Holding my own 6 ribbons, which represent the 6 of you, my thoughts follow a familiar pattern. I imagine Dave, Diane, Norma, Jason, Letha, Sherry, at your places in this room. I surround you individually and together in visions of light and quietly ask for you to be blessed so that you in turn may bring blessings to Pemberton Township. Following is the format for a suggestion that citizens symbolically adopt you, our elected township officials, through an adoption ribbons project. These are difficult times for Pemberton Township, with many homes and businesses vacant and deteriorating. Tax revenues do not cover our expenses. As our mayor and 5 council members struggle to meet these challenges, they represent everyone. No matter how anybody voted, these 6 officials now belong to all of us. If we encourage and support them, we also uplift ourselves and our town. If we keep our words about our town and about our elected representatives loving, we carry a blessing for Pemberton Township. Let's adopt our elected leaders. Let's daily raise these officials up in thoughts, words, or prayers. If we are able, let's attend at least 6 council meetings a year. It would be great to average at least 100 citizens at council meetings. Let's offer all officials our most thoughtful, constructive suggestions in a spirit of gratitude and respect, even when we speak strongly. Let's listen. Like a big family, we are different people, but we are all Pemberton Township. We trust that when anyone loves Pemberton Township, they love us too. And even when we disagree, they can trust that we love them in return. 6 ribbons can remind us of our township and our 6 officials. We might keep ribbons on a bathroom mirror, refrigerator, TV remote, or keychain, inside our current book, or in a Bible. We might place ribbons on a tree or fence in our yard, or wear ribbons to council meetings to show our support. Any ribbons will do. Thanks to everyone for caring, and please tell others about this project.
Thank you, Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Ms. Waters.
Wow.
I'm going to work my way around Ms. Quinn and then in the pink shirt.
Ann Quinn, Country Lakes. I stand here today, my anger rising after what I just heard. Being the daughter of a retired police officer, and knowing full well how my father would come home on certain instances, torn apart by what he had seen and what he had experienced during the course of his job. It was the chaplain who helped him through it. It was the chaplain, because of his training, understood more so than any other person what this police officer and their families were going through. How dare this administration play politics with the lives of our police officers? I stand here, I'm furious. It's everything I have not to yell and scream. Pastor Glass needs to be immediately, not I'm going to pass the comments on to the mayor and he'll decide. Pastor Glass needs to be immediately reinstated as chaplain for our police department. There is no cause not to have a chaplain available to any officer. It is fine that you want to add multiple chaplains, but this power struggle that I keep seeing meeting after meeting continues to grow, all at the expense of the residents, at the expense of our police officers, at the expense of our police chief. I'm well aware of what each part of the town's government can and can't do. You don't play politics with someone's life. That's exactly what you are doing. Now, you as council have the power to approve or deny this upcoming 2015 budget. I would urge the council not to approve this budget until the shenanigans that continue to happen between our police department, police officers, and now our town's chaplain are totally resolved. This has got to stop. I've also come to learn that another lawsuit has been filed by the female officer for discrimination. Quite frankly, as a female myself, I don't blame her. This administration does not have the best interest of the residents at heart. It's all about what they can do at the expense of the residents. I will repeat my call that a police department director not be put in place. I will again repeat my call that if it is found that we do have a police department director, that it would be Chief Jantis. He is more than qualified to do the job, as Pastor Glass is more than qualified to be chaplain for this town. I am so angry right now, I could spit fire. I struggle every day, but I gotta tell you something. And I know what it is because I used to see how my father used to come home. How dare you play politics with the lives of our police officers and the life of our chaplain? Because while the officers carry a heavy burden because of what they see every day, so does the chaplain, because he sees the same thing. This business of having more than one chaplain is fine with me. But what you're doing right now, because you don't want to reappoint him, it's politics. You're playing games with people's lives, and this has got to stop. You want to know why we're so upset? You want to know why that I come to these council meetings every month, twice a month, and tell you what I think? Because I care. But right now I'm staring at 6 people and a mayor who isn't even here because he doesn't give a rat's ass what us residents have to think or what we have to say. Do not approve this budget until this mess is cleared up. I get it. But you guys got to get it too. To leave our police officers without a chaplain? How dare you all? How dare you all? Good evening. My name's Debbie Lyhu. I'm from Browns Mills.
Please sign in, please. Thank you. And give your address.
And Jason, while she's signing in, I just want to say to you, would you please make it perfectly clear that we did not do this? You know, just for the record, I just want to, while she's signing in. I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, Ms. Quinn sat here and made her statements, but everyone else heard that this isn't something that came from council. This is something that we're made aware of. Well, at least I was made aware of tonight at the meeting. And Dennis, as you indicated, you will discuss that with Dave and get back to us like ASAP.
Yeah, I certainly will. It's very clearly the issue of appointing the chaplain is the mayor is the one who has the authority to appoint and not appoint. It's not even subject to council advice and consent. So that's the truth.
Thanks, Jason.
Debbie Lyhu, I live on Poppy Street. I apologize first. This is my first meeting, so I'm not really sure how all this works, and I am a little nervous. I have to admit, like I said, this is my first meeting, so shame on me. But what brought me out here was the issue with the female officer. That's why I felt like I had to come out. I'm a 22 years law enforcement officer with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. I've lived in Browns Mills now for about 20 years. I have zero things to say bad about the police department. I respect every one of them. Every time they've had to come to my house for the aid of my elderly mother, they've been nothing but helpful and respectful. I've done several letters thanking them and sent them up the chain. Nothing bad. I would not want their job to save my life. I think what they're doing to this female officer is appalling. I have a hard time believing that there's not been another female employee of the township, whether it be the police department or any other township position, that has not had some type of modified duty over the course of the years due to pregnancy. The police need every available hand, whether it be sitting at a desk, screening calls, answering a call, maybe on the 911 or whatever, helping somebody. Do not penalize this female officer because she's pregnant. It's not fair. That's it.
Thanks, Debbie.
Thank you. Mr. Tompkins?
And Debbie, thank you for your years of serving with the federal.
I got Chief on the front. Can you share? I don't have the book. Cool. What?
Is this the birthday invitation?
You need another one down there? I have.
No, one of you got my note.
I know this.
Who has the one with the notes on the bottom?
That's not
Nope. Shoot. Okay. First off, the chaplain thing. I was kind of upset a little bit this morning, or when I was thinking about coming in here for a couple of things. I heard the chaplain thing come up. And Miss Stinney, you kind of said something, and I was listening in the back, and I might have misunderstood what you were saying, but it sounded like you don't vote for rumors and things like that. But then you said you weren't going to vote for introducing the ordinance because of one phone call that you heard in regards to the ordinance or the thing. So your vote was swayed on one phone call, which I thought was kind of unique. Usually if I'm voting, I'm thinking of a lot more things than one phone call. So I thought that was kind of different. I would have voted a lot different on that, to tell you the truth, regardless of one phone call or not. I think with this ordinance that you folks have in front of you that you introduced tonight, you might want to look at some of the verbiage on this. I've heard numerous, let me say it one more time, numerous times you have no authority. And I've seen it a couple of times where you've almost willingly given authority away. When you're writing this ordinance, the old ordinance says a chaplain or chaplains maybe can be appointed by the mayor. And want to put some verbiage in there that you can vote in a chaplain and give you a little bit of authority. If you're going to do the ordinance anyway, give yourself some pizzazz here, you know? I hear all the time, you don't have any authority, and that seems to be the crutch. You don't have the authority to do this. You pass the laws. Give yourself the authority. Is that plain? What I gave you folks was something I saw come across when I was with my daughter in the dentist office. Come across on Yahoo. It was a Supreme Court ruling. And it was for the pregnant UPS officer that sued. And the UPS, or the Supreme Court ruled in her favor. And I was sitting there going, boy, good for her, but bad for me. Because this lawsuit is going to cost me millions. And she's right. You folks sit here and you voted, but you didn't have any authority, again. But administration did the administration thing. And it seems like we've got all kinds of things going on with administration with the police department. The locker rooms are still closed. There's still litigation on that as far as I'm aware. Now we have an officer that's suing us, this township, because of discrimination. I would imagine hostile workplace and some other things would come in following after that. I know I would. Now we have the chaplains are a little upset, and I can understand that one wholeheartedly. I think you folks need to take some action. And my first thought would be to ask for the business administrator's resignation. I think that might be a first step right there. That isn't taken. You folks passed a resolution or an ordinance a few months ago, and it was signed the 2nd of February, or the 19th of February by the mayor. And it was a residency requirement to work for the township. Mr. Gonzalez doesn't live in the township. There may be a waiver in place, but you know what? I believe in lead by example. If you're going to have an ordinance, enforce the damn thing. Firing. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Mr. Fred.
Yeah, Mr. Moorhead, Mr. Prickett, and Mr. Tam, all at the same time.
All at the same time?
No.
Mr. Moorhead.
He saw your
wish.
hands at the same time.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel like dueling banjos.
Yeah, really. I can't carry a tune in a bucket, so. Fred Moorhead, 12 Chandler Street, Browns Mills. If you pay any attention to national politics, you're well aware of the fact that Republicans are accused of waging a war on women. The only people that accuse them of that are Democrats. And there ain't nothing but Democrats here. Chair's empty, but that's filled by a Democrat. If there's been a war on women at the local level, I would suggest it ain't Republicans doing it. If you guys allow a pregnant police officer to have to exhaust her sick leave, her personal days, because she's pregnant, and one of the excuses is it didn't happen on her job, well, I would suggest that most pregnancies don't happen on the job. At least one would hope so.
That would be a bad thing.
I don't want to try to put motives on people's behavior. I would like to just judge what they do. But it's real hard not to put a motive on what's been going on between the administration and the police department. And when they take on the police department, they're taking on everybody. Because if you destroy the morale of the organization who's responsible for safety and the well-being of our people, then you are attacking everybody. And that's all that's coming out of this administration. When you are so petty that if there's a lawsuit trying to get the fair pay back to the police officer, and then you close a locker room because of that? I don't want to say that's your motive, but there's precious little other reason to close a locker room. Just happen to have a lawsuit against the administration, so now a locker room's not necessary. The mayor was quoted as saying, well, he didn't need one when he was a cop. I suppose he went home to go to the bathroom, too. But, so a woman gets pregnant, her lieutenant says, I got a job for you in the office, you're on modified duty. In the military, if a female soldier gets pregnant, they figure out a way to keep her value, her abilities, and her experience on the job. Yeah, you got to shake things up a little bit to do it, but that's management. I've heard more times than I care to repeat from this administration that they don't have any responsibility for the day-to-day running of the police department. What's more day-to-day than staffing? And they interfered with the staffing of the police department. I don't know where we're going in this town, but this is god-awful. The environment is poisonous, and the communication is broken down. You didn't even know we lost a chaplain? Come on. How could you not have a chaplain for a police department? How come you have an administration that doesn't even bother to tell you guys that they've laid off the chaplain, or whatever the term is, for not reappointing him? And why would you treat a guy like that, who's done 5 years of service? It doesn't cost us anything in our budget, does it? All it is another morale booster for our police department. You ought to be ashamed of it. I know I'm ashamed of it, just coming up here and listening to this crap. Something's got to be done. And I think the business administrator should leave, but I don't think it's his fault. I think he's a puppet sometimes. I think he follows the mayor's lead. And that's where it's got to come home to roost. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President, would you just let Mr. Moorhead, hold on a second. Now, we all voted to reinstate
I heard you.
the officer, okay?
Yeah, I understand that.
I just wanted to make it
No, I know you
perfectly
voted
clear.
5-0, but every time something comes up, you all don't have the power, you say. Oh, that's a Faulkner Act situation. We don't have the power. I think you got more power than you know.
Mr. Prickett?
Hi, Rick Prickett, 181 Town Road. Just curious, does the council check the purchase orders before they approve the checklist, the bill list? Mr. Allen, it looks like you don't know what I'm talking about.
I don't believe we get the purchase orders.
You don't? Do you know where they're located?
Dennis, would you care to
Let me
address that?
from what I remember being on council, which was quite a while ago, the purchase orders used to be available within the council offices, but you don't have offices anymore. But I believe the purchase orders are available from the financial office. So if you go there, I know in the past, I would go before I would vote on the bill list and go through all the purchase orders to make sure I knew what I was voting on. Because as Ms. Stinney brought up, I guess as cameras were purchased and council was unaware of that, council really should be going to the CFO's office right before or days before the meeting, whatever, and review all of those purchase orders. You'd be amazed at what you might find. I mean, you might find about what the lawyer expenses are really for, how much they charge per minute, you know, what they're talking about. And there's certain items, I know there's a lot not in those bills, but there is information that would be edifying, as Ms. Young would say, to the council. So I would urge you to check the purchase orders. I didn't think the new people knew about those purchase orders for some reason. I mean, I know I was informed of that from the very beginning, and the council should be. I'm sorry that as a public, I have to come up and tell you about it.
Rick, let me just get it right to you. We have always been able to go in there. I mean, Ken was a big advocate of that, talking with the...
Who was?
Ken.
I have allergies, and I cannot hear...
Ken Cartier was
okay.
always a big component of
Excellent.
doing that and checking the...
Ken has a account.
But we have received information that we had better not talk one-on-one to any CFO or any head administration without going through the administration, which is no problem. I'll go through them, round them, and back, and so on and so forth, whatever I need.
Well, I think maybe...
That's why I asked the questions out here.
Yeah, well, I think maybe what the council should do is
Excuse me, Andy? He said something. I don't know what you said, Andy.
No, he didn't say
Oh, he didn't?
Choking.
Oh, I'm sorry. Want some
What
water?
you should, I think you should do, as a council, you should be looking at these before you vote on the building.
Yeah, I agree.
So what should happen is those purchase orders should come out of the finance office and come into the clerk's hands, Ms. Kozlowski, so that you can go into her office and review them. I would suggest that you do that. Then you don't have to run the risk. I mean, I know I ran the risk before, and there were lawyers that came down on my back very quickly for talking to a township employee. But you can talk to the clerk, fortunately, because
Sure.
she's supposed to be your
Sure.
employee.
Mhm.
So see what you can do. Get those purchase orders so you can take a look at and see what you're voting on. Get the details. My second item that I'm interested in is last spring, the council voted on a Green Acres application for $1.5 million, half grant and half loan. Did you receive that grant loan from Green Acres? And if so, how are you going to finance the $750,000, which would be the responsibility of the township? So did the township, first of all, that would be the first step, did you receive that grant? I'm sorry?
Before me, I don't know.
Yes, but I think you were in the audience, weren't you? No? There at that time?
But I can definitely look into that if nobody else knows.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Would you please?
Sure.
Okay, so
I'm sorry, unless another council member knows already.
No, go ahead, Lisa.
Okay.
What
Thank you.
project are you talking about? I almost called you Jason. I'm sorry, Rick. Go ahead.
one of the athletic fields. four
Athletic field
fields.
down on the... Okay.
Okay, my last item that I'm concerned about, and I want to put this delicately because I don't have an opinion. I'm not voicing an opinion. I'm voicing a concern for the council. And the concern is an ethical concern. Ethics. Lots of state government entities have an ethics officer. Your ethics officer, I think, is Mr. Bear. Would that be correct? Or maybe there are no such thing as ethics officers within municipal government. However, you do make recommendations on ethical situations, I hope.
Well,
Somebody has to.
well, of course. We make, if there's questions about council members' actions under the local government ethics law and I'm asked for a legal opinion, we do that. Yes.
Well, I would think that
Or if there's a recusal issue or that kind of thing, yes.
I would think that perhaps, and I don't really want to make this personal, I would think that the solicitor would, before a meeting, before votes are taken, consider any ethical conflicts or perceived conflicts. Ethics can be perceptual. And a few meetings ago, a council person voiced concern that a group of people were voicing an assertion that person was in violation of an ethics concern. And that, and I'm talking about Ms. Trueblood. A few weeks ago, you were talking about comments somewhere in the community regarding your situation with this chaplain ordinance that was introduced tonight. You remember, you spoke very eloquently about that. I'm not taking a position whether one way or the other. I'm just saying you're a professional person. Your career, your reputation is based on good ethical decisions.
Correct.
And my concern is you voted for that tonight without saying why, considering there was that cloud that you talked about a few meetings ago. And what I would have liked to have seen is the solicitor say, you know, this is what you should consider. No, I don't think it's a conflict, and this is why. I mean, that should have been part of your defense if you voted for it or if you recused. You should have, I think you should have stated that publicly. So I'm not trying to say you did right or wrong. I'm just trying to say you need to have backup on your votes if you're in a situation that the appearance of impropriety may be there in some people's eyes. So I really think that if the council hasn't taken ethics training, I believe the course of that's available for all newly elected officials covers ethics. But I think that should be a yearly thing. I'd like to see Mr. Bear go over ethics with the council on a yearly basis just to refresh everybody's minds on that, so that you don't get into a situation where people are saying, well, they shouldn't have done this, they shouldn't have done that, you know. So again, I'm just looking out. I hope that's how it's perceived, and I hope that's what you think about this. I just don't want to see our council put in a situation where that would be very uncomfortable. Thank you very much.
Mr. Tam?
Michael Tam, Burlington County. Even though the township administration here sort of puts non-resident after my name, you're absolutely correct. I don't live in the township anymore. I came into this town in 1958 to 1960 on a part-time basis. Moved in here permanently in 1960, and I lived here for 50 years. I have many friends in this town. There's many good people in this town. And I still volunteer my services in this town. I'm still interested in this town. I probably know more about this town than most people put together in this room with it. And I have more of an interest in it, and I still have an interest. And Mr. Bear, is there any law that prohibits me from coming here tonight?
It's a public meeting.
Correct.
Anyone can speak.
That's right. Anyone that has an interest to come here and has an interest in the people of the town should be able to speak without being discriminated against in any shape or form, whether it be called a non-resident after their name when they put it on a site on the internet. Right, Mr. Gonzalez? Okay. Now we got that out of the way. Also, on the internet, they put transparency. That's great. I must commend them for that. The only problem is, when are they going to start? I asked questions the last meeting. They didn't address them in their propaganda sheet that they put up there. They put some questions up there, but they didn't address all of them. Why not? Does the council approve this, what they're doing on their site there? Misinformation and on that site? It represents the town.
Mike, are you saying that some of your comments were listed and others weren't?
Yes. Yes.
What site are you talking about?
The minutes?
No, I'm
from the
talking to
meeting?
Mr. Tam, if you don't mind.
Diane was asking you, Michael.
Okay. What site were you speaking of?
Oh, yes, Mr. Gonzalez. It's something that they engineered and put up on the web there.
On our township web?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, yep.
And that leads me to another problem. Not everybody always go on, and I had a conversation with Council President Allen. Not everybody goes on. I mean, my God, I mean, I'm back to work in Willingboro. I have sites all over the place, and I don't always sit there and I'm able. I haven't even been able to sit down, and I don't have this stuff going through my telephone, that web stage stuff. But not everybody reads it. That's why I asked you what site.
Yeah, well,
I didn't even know it was coming out, so somebody must have knew something.
Right on the top of it, it's they put out to show transparency in government.
Oh.
That's why they're putting these questions and their answers up. Their answers. The only thing is they didn't have all the questions I asked.
Okay.
They only had the questions that they wanted to answer. I feel the answers from the council should have been up there if they're putting something up there. And not only that, I question whether the questions were identical to what was said that night. But that's neither here nor there. I think something like that should have been approved by the council because it represents the town.
Up there.
It's something, it shouldn't be done like that. Also, on this here, I brought up about the bins that were built down back here for gravel, stone, soil, sand, whatever have you. They're built there approximately 2 or 3 years back. During the winter months, they were built using material that was taken without permission or court order from the Permanent Township Historic Trust, including a couple hundred railroad ties. And railroad ties, if I'm not mistaken, should not be used any other place along except the railroad bed in the state of New Jersey because of the materials that they contain. I also brought up the fact that they looks like they encroached, according to all the aerials that I have seen over the years, that they encroached on the wetlands when they built it, and even backfilled over the wetlands. I also brought up the fact that the township applied for a permit from the Pinelands to give a 50-foot buffer between what they built and the wetlands. I got no answer, and it was not even on their propaganda site. So now tonight I'm back again. Mr. Allen, you've been here, you work for DEP, you should be up on all this information. It was brought before here publicly about what was going on down back 2 years ago. And went right along, got buried and everything else. I'd like some answers. Am I correct in what I'm saying? Am I wrong or what?
I could comment on one.
Go ahead, Mr. Fair.
Well, generally speaking, the comment about the ties was in the litigation that the court handled, and that everything that was sold at that site was done under the court auspices after the courts found under a court order.
No, but
so we don't need to argue about
right.
it, but all I can tell you is that the lawsuit's been dismissed, and that all issues that could have been raised in the lawsuit were before the court. So I don't think it's really fair for you to come in now and say, as a quote fact, that that's something with the ties, when that was something that was raised in the court proceeding.
Mr. Bear, it's the timing and the dates. It was before the court proceedings were ruled. Yes, Mr. Bear. It could be verified with aerials. It was before the court proceedings.
Anyway.
Before the court proceedings, the court ruled on anything that was done. Anyhow.
And generally speaking, anytime we had to build something, if the township has to build something and there are wetland issues, the township, first of all, would have to get DEP approval to do that. And if the township built in wetlands, the DEP would come out and cite the township for disturbing wetlands.
Maybe DEP didn't know about it.
Well, maybe then the answer is go to DEP. But the answer is that as a public entity, I can tell you that any project that we're involved in, we always get all the necessary approvals that are required. And if you're speaking of the train station, which I think you are, then that was also funded through a grant, and certainly for any outside agency approvals that were needed, the township would have relied upon their professionals to get that for the township.
I'm talking about here.
Here.
Not the station.
Okay. But anyway,
Andy,
yes.
if I can, I believe Mr. Tam's talking about ties that were removed from the train station and brought out back.
That's right.
And
Before
are
the
they
court order.
supposed to be there? Is it something that should be there or shouldn't be there?
Then what happened in the court proceeding was that, and it was while the court proceeding...
One thing has nothing to do with the other.
No, I'm just saying, what happened in the court proceeding, this issue was raised, and as I recollect, the trust was, at the time, given the opportunity to come onto site and take anything they wanted, as I recollect. That's my recollection of events.
Mr. Bear is correct. The only thing is...
At least we agree, that's good,
Wait a minute. We would have to tear those walls down to take them back, because they were cut up and they're nailed and pegged into a wall to make bins, and they're quite big, they're large. You look on the aerial, you see these, I could show you the aerials, I could bring them and show them to you. And not only that, it's public knowledge throughout the town what was done because Public Works employees worked on it for about 3 months. So it's public knowledge. But Mr. Jason, the question I have, you work with DEP, you should be very sensitive to what goes on in the township. And this was brought here, right here. It was brought up over 2 years ago. It was brought up twice in 2.5 years.
Doesn't make it true.
Brought up publicly. And it's in the minutes also. What could you do about it now, Mr. Jason, to correct what the township has done?
Andy, is it true? What his allegations?
Not that I know of. I don't know. I have no idea.
And the fact that I work for the department does not mean that I know everything about the DEP. So I'm unaware of what you're referring to. Our solicitor is saying that as far as he is aware, it's not true.
Maybe we need to get a report from Public Works to see what is back there, if it is true. If there are railroad ties that should not be in the
He's asking about
area.
something else, though, Sherry. He's saying that you're saying there's building in wetlands.
Yes.
That's different, right?
They encroached on the wetlands.
What, though?
When they built these units right opposite the salt building, they encroached on the wetlands. That's it. And anything near the wetlands, you have to get permission. You have to have a minimum 50-foot buffer. And I'm asking, is there a 50-foot buffer there? According to the aerials, there's no buffer there to the wetlands. It's right there. Matter of fact, it looks like some of the wetlands were filled in. Now, everybody in town here, in Pemberton Township, when they want to build a house or a building, they got to go to the Pinelands. They have to get all their approvals and submit. They have to pay their engineer and everything else to get done to get it. Why is the township special?
Mr. Gonzalez, Mr. Tam keeps referring to a 50-foot buffer in aerials. Is there a way that we could figure out if there is indeed a 50-foot buffer instead of just relying on the
I have no idea what Mr. Tam is talking about. He has not described anything that gives me any clue as to what it is that we would have to look at.
Well, you supervised the bins when they're being built right opposite the salt building down there.
I don't think Dennis was
Mr.
here.
Tam, can you put your inquiry in writing and possibly we can get it over to
I'm
administration?
putting it in writing right now. She's taking the minutes.
Hopefully it's clear. No, I'm saying hopefully what he's asking is clear. I'm not saying that Amy's not
Why don't you
doing her
take a
job.
walk down there and see?
Thank you, Mr. Tam.
Okay. Here's a couple. You talked about a chaplain tonight. Is this a position that has been filled on a regular basis?
According
Yes.
to Reverend Glass, the last 5 years, correct?
It's a position that's been filled on a regular basis?
According to Pastor Glass, at least the last 5 years.
Okay. Then why is the mayor's not doing his job then? He should be filling it. If you don't want to fill it with Mr. Glass, he could fill it with somebody else. But it should be filled. And not only that, if he's not filling it, Mr. Glass is a holdover in that position. You hold over with anything else. If you don't appoint an administrator when his term is up, he's a holdover. Mr. Bear's a holdover if you don't appoint a new solicitor. He's a holdover. Why can't Mr. Glass be a holdover and make it legal?
That's the question we're going to ask the mayor.
Pardon?
That's the question we're going to ask the mayor.
No.
Those are usually,
There, right?
well, those are usually like statutory. So with lawyers, you're right, because the statute there's law that provides for, like the appointing resolution usually says you're in the position till a successor is appointed and confirmed. I have to tell you, I don't know if that would apply to the pastor's position or not without looking at the statute that authorizes the appointment. I don't know if that's, because it's not true of every position, but the statute may say it, it may not. We'd have to look at it.
But it does make sense, more or less.
Sure.
Well, doesn't mean it's what the law doesn't always make sense, but yes, it makes practical sense. Yeah.
Well, I would say the mayor's not doing his job by not filling that position. And he could fill it until an ordinance is passed. That's the thing. I don't understand why he's using the ordinance as a club, that it could be filled. And then when the ordinance is passed, they could go whatever they want.
We already have an ordinance that allows for an appointment of one.
Well, then it should be filled.
We're not disagreeing with you.
And if it's not filled, it should be a holdover. There's one other thing. There was an election in town in November, and there was 4 candidates running. And 3 of the candidates collectively had more votes than what the present mayor has. And the mayor was elected with about 40% of the vote. It's very confusing how a mayor with discretionary powers could be elected with less than 50% plus 1. It's very confusing about it. It doesn't seem right. And not only that, it's not fair to the residents of town that a mayor is elected with 10% of the population. When there's 30,000 people, he has less than 3,000 votes, 2,300 votes. That's not democracy at all. If I was in his position, I wouldn't accept a job with that amount of votes. I'm serious. 30,000 people and 2,300 votes put him there. That is not democracy. And evidently, the way he's been using his authority, he doesn't recognize democracy anyhow. I suggest that maybe this township should revert back to the committee form of government. It's transparent, much more transparent than the present form that we have. The 5 committee people all have equal powers. There's no dictator among them. They choose a mayor. The mayor only has the powers that the other 4 give him with it. It is a simple process. Under Title 19, 40:69A-25 and 40:69A-25.1 and 40:69A-19 puts it in Title 19, spells it out. It's relatively a simple procedure to revert back to your form. You need 20% of voters, they get on the ballot, the people vote for it, and it's done. Then you have a 5-person council get elected, committee get elected, and it'll give you a much transparent form of government. Very similar to the present freeholder form in Burlington County, with 5 of them. Each one of them has responsibility for various departments. You still have an administrator, runs the daily operation, but you got 5 people with equal power. There's no dictators. It's fair, and it's accountable to the people. When the public comes to a meeting, they'll address, Ms. Stenny, I got a question for you. You have the police department. And she better come up with the answer.
That's right.
It's accountable this way. Everything is open. On budget information, the public gets information, the whole committee gets the information. Right now, nobody knows the little details of what goes on. They don't get sheets from the prior 2 years to make a comparison that are set on the table for the public to see like they used to do years ago. When they had budget sessions, they knew everything in that budget, right down to the penny, and questions could be answered. Presently, nobody knows. You only know the material. Not only that, you can't even go into the departments and get the information you need, and you're responsible for the money in the budget. And not only that, but if I was sitting there, I would never vote on anything unless I could see all the purchase orders and everything in it. And that's what you get in the committee form. But the way it's played now, you just, more or less, you have puppets up there. You're nothing. You got no information. and you're not going to get any information.
Michael, on the vote to revert back to the former form of government, is there
Go
any
ahead.
kind of timeline on that? I mean, we've been in this form of government now
No.
for 20 years.
You can get a petition going in 90 days. 90 days have a petition for filled and what have you, and file it, and then the time will be set.
75 days before the election. 75 days before the election, I believe.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Could be
According to the
Right.
county clerk.
Do you know that in East Windsor Township, which is a committee form of government like you're speaking of, there's one-party control, and they've had the committee has appointed the same mayor among themselves for the last 20 years. So there's an instance where where you have that committee form of government, and there's been the same mayor for the 20 years.
Well, I can show you some
It's all
examples.
right as long as
Andy-
they're a good mayor.
Well, I'm just saying, you can get the same result is all I'm saying.
I could show you some examples.
Look around
too.
Burlington County.
You take Atlantic City, the corruption that was down there years ago. In the last 50 years, quite a few mayors in the state under the mayor-council form of government have gone to prison. Quite a few of them have gone to prison.
Big city.
Whether it be the city of Newark, whether it be Union City, West Milford, Camden County, Trenton. I can name a whole list of them in the last 50 years that have gone to city for corruption because it breeds corruption, because of the secrecy involved with it. And it tends to pull corruption in that mayor-council form of government. And it does make mayors assume they have power and they push the limits of their power. And they're more concerned sometimes with their power than they are with the people who are there representing the town with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Phillips?
Good evening, everybody in general.
Good evening.
I got this question for the president of the council. Can you tell me why our mayor is not in meetings lately?
Dave does not have to be here if he does not want to. I'm not sure why he hasn't been here. I have not spoke to him about his attendance at the meetings.
In that case, what was the reason he accepted the position? The reason.
Ms. Phillips, do you mind if
Yeah,
I
go ahead.
have the
The lawyer?
solicitor to answer that? Because according to the ordinance, he doesn't have to be here. His BA can be here. He doesn't ever have to be here. Andy, go ahead with that,
You're right,
please.
Diane.
Yeah, tell the public. Let the public know. I know, but let the public know.
Well, under both your ordinance and state law, the mayor is not required to attend the
Right.
council meeting. In fact, if you ever go to like a big city council meeting, you never see like the mayors at those. Very rarely ever see the mayors at those meetings. But yeah, I have no idea why he's here or not here, but that the law doesn't require it is Diane's point. Yeah, and she's correct.
We solve the problem we have in our township right now. When we need him in there, gotta be a reason why he's not there. Mr. Administrator, does mean that you don't have to be here either?
So by ordinance,
He has to.
by ordinance, the township administrator is required to attend the meeting. By your ordinance here.
Well, I guess he can answer me some questions when I'm going to ask him.
Mrs. Phillips, the mayor's number is 894-3301.
I want to see his face in there. He's getting paid for.
Well,
You miss him.
you call him up and tell him that.
I will. Mr. Administrator, I was shocked to hear tonight the dog with the K9 dog where we have will be leaving us. But our administration do not have a backup money available right away for replace the K9. Can you tell me what is the reason that?
That's not what he
Mrs. Phillips, I believe the money is there. What they're saying is they don't know if they're going to spend the money to replace the dog.
Well, that's make another strike for Mr. Mayor. He really is working and want to destroy the police officer or the police department. First, he started with the locker room. Second, he started with the pregnant officer. I be honest with you. I'm a citizen of this country. And I was shocked to hear what this administration did to that officer. Working as a chapter for the state, you don't do that. An ignorant person with an 8th grade degree knows that that's illegal. We have a lawyer right there. We have another lawyer in there. How stupid can these people did that to that officer when she put the life in the line? I'm a mother. I'm a widow for a veteran. Very proud. I'm a mother for a veteran. Very proud. And I am a mother for an officer. Been in this department since 1995. But what is telling me right now, I speak on behalf of all the officers, not only for my son, but for every single officer when they leave their home. They do not know if they're coming back. And it's sad, because this is how the thanks and the appreciation where you give it to this officer. Okay, I live that way now. I want to ask a lawyer, as a taxpayer, and pay your salary.
Yes.
Oh, how much
Yes,
money?
Mrs. Phillips.
Yes.
What can I do for you?
What you can do for me?
Yes.
Oh, and I'm going to write that down too.
I can't give you free legal work.
Oh no, you won't give me numbers,
Okay.
because I already know the numbers.
What is that? I probably...
How much money in lawsuits
No.
the taxpayer of Pemberton Township and the residents are paying?
Right.
I want a number. You say you're going to give me a number. I want it.
There's no way I can answer that question right now.
You cannot answer me that question with all the lawsuit that's going on it?
Over what period of time, what lawsuit, I don't know what you're... there's no way I can answer.
There is no way.
No.
Fire departments,
I'm sorry.
emergency squad,
Right.
police department.
Right.
You cannot answer me none of those questions. You know the numbers.
No, I really don't. No, I wouldn't know that. I mean, it's available information we could research.
Okay. Now,
I can't tell you what it is I'm sitting here.
okay, you can answer me the next one.
Okay?
What happened with your eyesore, the brown smell? The mayor's supposed to know about that. Now you can answer for him.
What?
The eyesore, acne, and brown smell. What is going on? You told me there's a delegation last time. Now I want an answer.
Well, the administration, there's no litigation going on. The administration is talking to developers, and that's what's going on. The issue, and when we go into executive sessions, I think we also say potential litigation, because the township's been at odds with Mr. Berardi, the owner, for years, and he doesn't want to cooperate in the development of or redevelopment of the shopping center. So if and when the township gets under contract with a developer, most likely it would involve condemnation of his property. So because of that, we always list it as potential litigation. But there is no ongoing litigation there hasn't been litigation over the shopping center since I've been here. Well, there was going way back, but not in the last 6 years or so.
Andy, maybe you can help Ms. Phillips out a little bit. Is there any violations sitting up there on his property, on the land, on his buildings, or anything like that, that maybe the township would give him citations or anything like that? Because I've heard that.
I wouldn't know. I mean, I know code
Ms.
enforcement goes out there. I mean, as we're sitting here, I wouldn't know, Diane, but I know over the years they have been cited. I don't know right now.
Could you find out from Ms. Phillips and let us know at the next
Well,
council
I think you could
meeting?
ask administration, you could ask Dennis to find out like through code enforcement, what's going on out
Well,
there. Yeah.
it's on the record.
Yeah.
May I ask what is the question, whether they have been cited, and
If there's any, the question is, and kind of like help Ms. Phillips out a little bit, the question is there any violations sitting out there on his property or anything like that? I remember a couple years ago where his roof was just caving in. The sidewalks, I mean, his, help me out, parking lot was a mess, and they sent him violations of those things like that.
our code enforcement officers have been out there in the not so distant past, and no citations were issued because no violations were found.
Oh, okay. I was just trying to help Ms. Phillips out because I see mold all up and down that place. Okay.
Okay, can you
Thanks,
tell
Ms.
me
Phillips.
what is going on with the locker room with for the officers? Is that still in delegation also? Mr. Lawyer? Solicitor, whatever?
Well, there's a claim in litigation about locker rooms. Yes.
Okay.
There is a locker room, but there are claims about that in the litigation. With
Well,
the
I am, as a resident in this township for 35 years, and knowing our mayor as an officer for so many years. When he got his position as a mayor, what that he has been started doing with his fellow officer, he was one of them. And possibility the resident trust him because as an officer, but they were blind. They did not know what was coming to them. And the sad part it is, whoever put this man for the third time, what is wrong with these people? The council cannot make no decision. Guess what? We don't need the council then. Let us two bodies in there to do their decision. We don't need nobody. We don't need a lawyer. We don't need nobody. He's a lawyer himself.
He was.
Oh, he was? He can speak Spanish too, and I can ask him a question, but I'm not allowed to. And I won't think I will do it either. I want...
If we have a translator, we can.
Okay, get a translator then, and I can talk to him.
I'm only joking.
No, I know. I know that. I understand every single word what he's telling me. I recall that one day I came and dropped my leaves. I borrowed a truck. I went to the gas station, filled out the gas tank, brought about 20 bags, and because I was less than 20 minutes, and I was not aware that they were closed at the time, I talked to him in the administration, and his office outside over there, and he point blank told me that he is not going to let the people open the gate. People were still working in the back there. I can open the gate myself and just go there. I don't need people to follow me. And he denied that to me, and they had to be ashamed, 70-year-old lady, how they can deny her rights and everything. And it's sad. And I think, Mr. Administrator, he has to start packing his bag because he's not doing good and look like the mayor in there. Start packing the bag and go someplace else. Because what you did in Trenton, what you did in Edison, you're not going to do in Pemberton. I guarantee you that. And thank you, and I leave it that way.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips. Mr. Prickett.
Already spoke.
There's no rule against it until we do something about it.
Rick Prickett, I'm sorry, a second time you let me come up. Here's a resident, 181. And it won't be so bad, what I have to say. My question is, the solicitor said something to the effect that by township ordinance, the business administrator is required to be here. So that means that if you can write ordinances requiring the mayor to do things and the business administrator to do things, you should be able to do that. But I don't think that's true. I think really the basis of that is it's state law that requires the business administrator. I think we need to be real accurate in our words. That's how all these misconceptions over the years have been persistent. And so I just want to clear check with you to hear you say it. Yes, it's state law that requires a business
You know,
administrator to be.
I'm not sure that Faulkner says that or not. It probably does, but I don't have the book here, but yeah.
Okay.
So you'll research that?
I will.
That's what you're
Thank
saying.
you.
It probably is the case, Rick.
Thank you.
And so, Rick, 1 second before you go away, and I'm sure you know this, the business administrator is just here by the order of the mayor. He doesn't do anything unless he's ordered by the mayor.
He
Nothing.
serves at the pleasure of the mayor.
He serves at the pleasure of the mayor. So,
As many other, but he in particular is, the business administrator in particular is a person that is
right, I
the
read
mayor's
off the
right-hand arm.
I read off the job description a while back, 6 months or so back, right?
Thank you. Mr. Petronas?